All right. I want to make this clear from the first 5 seconds of the video. When I first started having a conversation with Miss Kadie, that vegan teacher, I was not trying to get her to read my book. I was not trying to get her to respect me or recognize my talent as an author or intellectual. I was not assuming in any way whatsoever that this was going to be a relationship between intellectual equals. I was trying to build on the common ground that I perceived us to have, which is, hey, she is somebody who, despite her many missteps, despite her innumerable defects of character that have been on public display, she is somebody who has made some funny songs on the internet, and she has made some silly songs about veganism. So she got in touch with me. I didn't get in touch with her. I was reaching out. She reached out to me, and I said, hey, we are a couple. We being me and Melissa, who's off camera here. We have done a bunch of silly songs also about veganism, about climate change. Here are the links. You can hear my voice. You can hear Melissa's voice. You can hear us singing together. You can hear us laughing and having a good time. I know you do silly songs with a satirical or political purpose. Also, let's work together, okay? That is the only possible basis for any positivity between the two of us. She reaches out to me saying, hey, you're vegan, I'm vegan too. I reach back saying, you are someone who records silly satirical songs. I am too. All right. Now here's where it starts to get profound and disturbing. Hope that's not coronavirus. There was a time when I really did look up to Chris Rock. Okay. I have mentioned this before on my YouTube channel. When I was a boy, he was on Saturday Night Live. Really, I was not a teenager. I was a boy. And I lived in downtown Toronto in an area that had very high levels of racial tension. And nobody wanted to acknowledge it. The whole Canadian establishment was still on this very strange ego trip. Like, oh yeah, the Vietnam War was a disaster, but not here. The Vietnam War, that was a moral and ethical problem with Americans who are like a 35-minute drive away. That's like this totally difficult society, totally different society called the United States of America that we have nothing to do with. We weren't involved in the Vietnam War. Oh, slavery, racism. Oh yeah. That's somewhere far, far to the south of Toronto. Like Toronto on a clear night, you can stand on the edge of the lake and see Rochester, New York. It's not so far away, right? But Toronto was really on this ego trip that we were morally superior to an American city like Chicago, American city like New York, an American city like Detroit. Right? Oh, no. In Detroit, black people and white people hate each other. But in downtown Toronto, it's not like that. So I was really living in the midst of tremendous racial tension, including like on my schoolyard, et cetera, within walking distance, within my neighborhood. And the comedy of Chris Rock at that time when I was a child, wow. It's just like, the crack in the edifice. It's just the crack that lets the light shine in. And I appreciated so much the little bits and pieces of comedy about, racism, about politics, social commentary, socialism was built into his comedy and worldview. And again, I was hearing that as a child. I had never heard anything like that before. Like just saying, for me personally, Chris Rock was the first, kind of voice of reason that way. Voice of reason compared to what? My crazy parents, my crazy school. Everyone else is crazy and lying to me. Canadian government is lying to me. Canadian government propaganda. Okay, wow. So look, I can't say Chris Rock is a hero of mine. I can't say I look up to him. I certainly can't say he was ever a role model for me. But there are expectations that build up in the eyes of, the eye of the beholder, the member of the audience. You know what this guy is capable of. You know how much his comedy, his writing, his work has meant to you and how much it could mean for other people. And the unique position he has ended up in. A career that started off with him doing a supporting role in Beverly Hills Ninja. I think before that, played a very, very minor role in New Jack City. And he managed to climb his way to the top, managed to fight his way to being on the spotlight on stage in a position where his message is going to reach millions of people. And you know how much it's meant to you, and you know how much it could matter to other people. And then you get to endure the disappointment of seeing who Chris Rock has become and what his comedy has become. And of course, you're disappointed. All right. And anyone in this audience could say to me now, hey, come on. Chris Rock didn't make you any promises. Nobody elected him. You didn't vote for him. He's not leading the revolution or something. Come on. Why do you put all these expectations on Chris Rock? He's just trying to have a good time and sleep with a bunch of prostitutes. A lot of his comedy now is about having sex with prostitutes, by the way. He's just trying to live his life and enjoy himself and have a laugh about it, right? I get it. I get that you can claim that my expectations of him are purely subjective. However, the opportunity he had, that's something that's objectively real. And the fact that he squandered it, the fact that he squandered the opportunity of a lifetime, the fact that he still is squandering the opportunity of a lifetime, and it's an opportunity that far fewer than one person in a million will ever have, that's objectively real. That's not just subjective. That's not just my opinion. Okay? This is my point. I talk to someone like Miss Kadie, that vegan teacher. She has never been a hero to me. She is not someone I look up to. And from the very start of this conversation, I am aware I'm talking to someone who is incredibly stupid, incredibly unsophisticated about politics, even incredibly unsophisticated about music, about comedy, and about veganism and the vegan movement, issues that are central to the vegan movement. I've talked to teenagers who are way more sophisticated and well-informed about the politics of the vegan movement, what's going on with the philosophy of veganism. Put it that way. Okay, I know I'm dealing with someone at this level. However, I am also talking to someone who, like Chris Rock, is in a unique position to make a difference in the world, a rare position to make a difference. And I have heard her say out of her own mouth what a struggle it's been for her to make music, that she really has no talent in singing or playing the guitar, playing the ukulele. I forget if she actually said she has no training, no education in it all. But it's either she has no education or very little. She went to school to become a nurse and then later switched careers and became a teacher. But she feels at any rate, however much or how little education she has in playing the guitar and singing, it's too little that she really just barely taught herself into these things. Yeah. And, sitting there listening to her song about Elon Musk, woo, it's pretty bad. There just seems to be no concept of having one word rhyme with another. There's no charm. There's no composition. It's bad. Okay. But nevertheless, I've heard her say that she had to have the humility and the sort of strength of character to get up on stage and fail, get up on stage and be laughed at, get up on stage and be scorned, to embarrass herself singing a silly song in front of a McDonald's. Sorry, in front of different, I forget if it was a McDonald's or Taco Bell or all of the above, And I knew one girl who sang with her at one of those events, just another YouTuber, and it talked about before Miss Kadie got famous, that she had a period of time doing this. These are just live performances for an audience of 10 people or something. That she was willing to, humble herself and take that risk and be ridiculous and be laughed at and be scorned. And I can relate to that. Okay? I've said this many times. It is so much easier for me to get on camera and give you a 1-hour lecture about the philosophy and politics of Aristotle, philosophy and politics of Socrates, whatever, something impressive from ancient Greece or ancient Rome. It's also easier for me to give you a 1-hour lecture. The history and politics of Mongolia. I really have deep, sophisticated knowledge of a whole bunch of different chapters of history from different periods and different continents. I can lecture on philosophy and politics for an hour, unscripted, no prep, at a very, very high level. And some of my videos, there is some scripting and prep and whatever. Okay, for me to come on camera and give a very erudite and entertaining and hard-hitting lecture on any variety of subjects, whether it's a book review or political philosophy or whatever, that's easy. For me, that's easy. If anything, I don't want to do it because I'm a little bit too good at it. Okay. But yeah, for me to rub my brain cells together and try to make everyone laugh, to take something like the tragedy that's unfolding now in the Gaza Strip and to look at the commentary from Hassan Piker, also known as Hassan Abbey, and to make a hard-hitting, funny, silly song out of it, to do something that's comedic and rambunctious and energetic, and we can all have a laugh at Hassan, and we can have a laugh at ourselves, maybe we can have a laugh at the tragedy unfolding in the Gaza Strip, and we can have a laugh at both how ridiculous the Islamic religion is, but also how ridiculous the Jewish religion is. In that song, I make fun of both sides, even though obviously I don't treat both sides equally. Still, I have a laugh at my own expense. That's hard. And of course, there's a level on which I know my ability as a rapper is poor. And it's always going to be poor. My ability as a singer, my ability to play any musical instrument, right? So there's something there I can relate to with Miss Kadie, with that being a teacher. There is something for me to be optimistic about. Here's the point. No matter how low my expectations were for someone like Chris Rock, the reality is lower. Low expectations are no proof against disappointment. They're no proof against heartbreak. And I've got to say also, to cut to the chase, my low expectations of Miss Kadie are no proof against disappointment, are no proof against heartbreak. The last message she sent me in this sequence was her complaining to me that people are making false criminal allegations against her on Twitter, also known as X, and that she has to defend herself against them or she's going to go to jail. So I simply replied, said, I hope you die in jail. And then provided her with a link to my song, my comedy song, which is titled, I Hope You Die in Jail. So if some of you have seen or heard that in my greatest hits list. Okay. So just say, I go into this conversation trying to build positively on the little bit of common ground that's there to be built on. And I am joking around and I'm keeping it lighthearted because I cannot possibly expect this woman to be on my level intellectually. I can't expect her to talk about politics with me. I can't expect her to talk about veganism with me. The first 3 comedy songs I send to her, right? Maybe 2 of them are very clearly ridiculing Jordan Peterson. So if you guys don't know which comedy songs I'm talking about, I am ridiculing Jordan Peterson because of his position on climate change, right? And I'm sorry, it's just so obvious what side I am on in this as the comedian, as the vocalist, so on and so forth. There is no ambiguity whatsoever. And, you actually hear me laughing at Jordan Peterson. It's me and Melissa both do the vocals in these videos. But, 1, there is absolutely no ambiguity that this is a joke. 2, there is absolutely no ambiguity that I am not a fan of Jordan Peterson. I'm not a supporter. I'm harshly condemning him. And 3, the fact that Miss Kadie, that vegan teacher, the first thing she knows about me is that I'm vegan. Like, if you are so mentally disabled that you can't perceive this as a joke and you can't tell which side the humorist is on, which side the comedian is on, like you can't tell what the punchline of the joke is, like who is being laughed at here, which I get mind-blowing levels of stupidity, right? Still, the fact that you know that I'm vegan means that you must be able to just cerebrally figure out that my position in this video, in this comedy video, is pro-vegan, anti-global warming, and thus anti-Jordan Peterson. Like, you can put the pearls on a string here, right? She replies to me 100% not understanding that these are comedy videos. I kid you not. 100% interpreting them as if I do not believe global warming is real. As if, I am a global warming denialist, when the point of the video is very clearly the opposite. There's zero ambiguity. And then asking me in a confrontational and shitty way what my position is on transgender issues. So that was not in those videos, but it's just the fact that she interpreted these videos as if I'm a fan and supporter of Jordan Peterson. Okay? Now, she follows this up by asking me a bunch of shitty questions about, and she doesn't explain where she gets this from. Like, she doesn't explain what video she's responding to, or if it's something that someone else said to her. I have no idea. I would assume she just maybe looked at the titles of some of my videos, or she maybe looked at the titles of the videos on Sky's channel. Sky means vegan, of course. Like, I wonder if she glanced at the interview I did with Sky. I just don't know. But she starts asking me these shitty and demanding questions about, like, well, if you think that what Stefania Ferrario is doing wrong, Stefania Ferrario, if you think that what Stefania Ferrario is doing wrong, what do you propose that's better? If you think that Earthling Ed is doing wrong, what's your great idea? What's your proposal for being actions that's better? So I'm sure if she were describing this conversation to a friend, she would kind of misrepresent it from her perspective, as if I went into this conversation trying to sell her on reading my book. That was not my perspective at all. At no point did I think this woman is at a high enough intellectual level to read or appreciate or understand my book, or my books, plural, ever. Okay? I regard this as someone who is open-minded enough and silly enough and creative enough to clown around and maybe do a music video together, maybe do a comedy video, maybe collab in some format like that. Because I got to tell you something. I could just write lyrics and send them to her, and that would so much improve. If she was like, hey, I'm working on a song, I could give her lyrics that rhyme and are witty and have complex cultural references, like a lot of stuff that's missing from her music now. I could give her lyrics that are thought-provoking. She could get involved with singing or performing, frankly, songs we've already done. Whatever. There's some potential for collaboration there. But anyway, if you watch the earlier video I've put up, it's 2 minutes long. And those are the voice clips of what I said to her. I just mentioned I was at the gym and out of breath when I started recording it. So I say, look, I'm not angry, but I'm actually kind of breathing hard because I'm out of breath, which is not perfect. I was at the gym and I got this message from her, and I record a reply right away when I'm at the gym. And I say in 2 minutes, look, you keep asking me these questions as if I can give you a single sentence reply. The answer to this type of question is not going to be a thought-terminating cliche. It's not going to be a slogan. It's not going to be a catchphrase. I have rolled heavy with the vegan movement for 10 years. I have 10 years of work put into this. If you want to know my position on this, you can watch YouTube videos I've done. She knows Sky. She knows vegan, of course, some sense. Look, you can ask Sky about me if you don't trust me. You can watch the interviews I've done with Sky. You can watch these other videos, or you can read my book. You can even you can at least watch the YouTube video, which is chapter 1 of the book, narrated. Then you can decide if you're interested. You can listen to that video. And the book is $1. The videos are free, but whatever. I mean, if she wanted me to, if she said she can't afford $1, I could send her the book for free. I wish I could say nobody has ever said that to me. I wish I could tell you that nobody has ever written to me asking me to send the book for free because they don't want to pay $1 for it. I wish I could say that, but no. So look, I just say I was very much cornered into talking about the book because of how she pestered me and how she pressed me with these questions. And her questions were fundamentally based on her being so mentally disabled that she can't perceive a joke. She can't take a joke. She can't even detect that I am joking. She can't get the joke. And she can't respond positively or even neutrally to someone writing to her saying, oh, look, you do funny songs on the internet. Me and my girlfriend together, often enough as duets, we do funny songs on the internet. I'm vegan. You're vegan. We're both members of the vegan movement. I have heard you complaining again and again for years. You have no one to work with. You have no one to collaborate with on music videos and on comedy videos. So here it is. She very rarely replied to what I'd said to her, which to me, it makes her seem autistic. It makes her seem mentally disabled. I do find it very strange. But one of the things I said to her directly was, I have heard you complaining about this for years. You complain, she lives in Canada. You have complained there is nobody in Canada you can work with. Guess how I feel? You know what I mean? Well, guess what? I'm in Canada. Me and my girlfriend are vegans in Canada. And unlike most vegans, we have a sense of humor. We're willing to do these songs. I said, look, I now see the reality of this. You have been complaining for all these years. There's no one for you to collaborate with. There's no one for you to work with. But when someone like me steps up and says, hey, guess what? Talent is scarce. I'm willing to work with you. I'm willing to make some, I now see how you actually respond to that. Okay. So, guess what kind of robotic and frankly autistic response I get back. Miss Kadie has let me know that she is fighting for her life on Twitter right now against false criminal accusations that could put her in jail. I hope she goes to jail. I hope she dies in jail. For me, that's the end of the story. Want to criticize myself for 1 minute, and then it's going to be a wrap. You guys may not remember this controversy, but now more than 1 year ago, I had one viewer write in, and I knew nothing about this guy. Like I didn't know his name. I didn't recognize his name. I didn't know his age. I didn't know anything about him. But he wrote in asking for diet advice. And of course, the first thing I said to him was, look, I never give diet advice. And if you've watched channel for you've heard me say this many times. I don't even give recommended reading advice, like in a generalized way. If I know you, like if I've talked to you, I know your situation. If I recommend a book for you, that's different, right? I'm like, even however many people are in this audience right now, I would not recommend the same book to 200 different people. I think that's really irresponsible, right? So, I know a particular person, their life, what they're trying to learn, then maybe I'm going to recommend a book for you. In terms of diet or health or exercise, I take that responsibility very, very seriously. But anyway, so this guy wrote to me once, and I opened my reply by saying, look, I never give health advice. I never give diet advice. And I gave an example of another YouTuber who does for, I think, $300 a month. So look, here's this other YouTuber. If you pay her $300, she'll answer these kinds of questions. And I have to tell you something. I don't think that's too expensive. If I were doing this, I would charge you $300 also. Maybe $500, maybe more. Like, no, it's a real job for me to hold your hand and talk you through this, the vegan diet and the choices you're making at the grocery store and what the best option is for you and what does and doesn't cause you indigestion and what you're doing at the gym. Okay, if you want me to play that role, that's a job. It's a part-time job, but that's a job. And here are examples of other YouTubers. I think one was doing it for $300 a month. Another was charging some other price. That's a job you pay for, and it's a job with serious responsibility, right? Now, so what I'm saying to you now, and this is the conclusion of the story, one of the reasons I don't do this, one of the reasons why I take my responsibility so seriously is I know how those people in the audience regard me. So foreshadowing, you can guess where this story's going. But in this case, the guy, I made an exception for him. I said, okay, with the caveat I've been stated, I never give diet advice. I never give exercise advice. But here's what I am willing to tell you. And again, if you want to know more, if you want someone who's actually going to talk you through each decision you make, you've got to pay a professional diet coach, nutritionist, gym coach, whatever the role is, trainer, however you want to put it. Okay. And that's still on my blog. The advice I gave to the guy is still on my blog. And it wasn't enough. And he kept pestering me and he kept pushing me. And so I wrote back to him much more angrily saying, look, I made an exception for you. I told you I don't do this. And then at that stage, he writes to me and says, I think the guy is like 19 years old. I knew nothing about him at that point. And he says, look, man, I really worship you. You've been a huge influence in my life. It's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. He's read books because I recommended them. He's been watching my YouTube channel for so many years. We know one example of a guy who started watching my YouTube channel at 14, right? He started watching at age 14. He's now 22, 23. There are people who have been really impacted by this YouTube channel in a way much more profound than I was impacted by Chris Rock. And you don't know who those people are, right? Like it could be that guy writing me for nutrition advice. It could be I tell him to figure it out himself. He just shrugs and laughs it off. It's no big deal. It could be I give him bad advice and it's no. Okay. You do have to take that seriously. So I'm saying this self-critically. My tiny measure of fame, power, and respect I've got, I take what I do with it very seriously. And I'm in this position where I'm heartbroken because of this meaningless interaction with Miss Kadie, that vegan teacher, which I go into thinking I have expectations so low that I can't be disappointed and my heart can't be broken. And guess what? I'm wrong. At the end of this interaction, even I feel heartbroken. Even I feel like I've lost one of my heroes. when this is someone who was never my hero at all. On the contrary, there's someone I used to laugh at with scorn and generally despise.